How you doing, man?
Doing good, Peter. Good to be here.
Yeah, good to have you. It's long overdue.
Yeah, it's been a while. Where did we meet?
Wasn't Wyoming, was it?
Is either Wyoming or here. It might have been actually Wyoming.
When we had our daily steak.
Yeah, like in bacon, table bacon.
That fucking bacon.
Yeah.
We had
2018, 2019. Yeah.
that twice a day ribeye in Wyoming. Yeah. It was great to meet you, man. You're a quiet Bitcoiner.
Quieter.
Quieter Bitcoiner.
Not famous. Yeah.
You're behind the scenes, but it's always been good to talk to you. And I wanted to do this a while, get you on the show,
Yeah.
expose you to everyone who listens to the show and your way of thinking, especially as you're a red state man.
Yes.
I either hang out with you in Wyoming or I hang out with you here in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And
We're going to convert you eventually.
hey, listen, look, if my life circumstances were different, either I would live here or I'd definitely live part of my life here.
Yeah.
I mean, I would establish the studio here, but it's, the whole challenge of children. I think my kids would love it, but it's a complicated thing. But I love it here.
Yeah.
It's just like Bedford.
It's just like Bedford. I don't know. I just watched that soccer match.
Well,
like,
if you take away, if you get the guns, the freedom, the steak, the big outdoors, the ranches,
The sunshine.
the sunshine, it's pretty much Bedford.
yeah. Well,
Fucking
the
nothing like
one
that.
thing I've noticed, with my friends in Germany, UK, even if they're more conservative, right-leaning Europeans, is none of them get guns.
I am a right-leaning, right of center conservative in the UK.
Yeah.
Here, I'm woke left libtard.
Communist.
Yeah, fucking communist. I love it here, man. I love it here. I've been coming here now since I got into the podcast.
Yeah.
I came here. It's about 4 years ago. Interviewed Lynn Ulbrich. It's about 4.5 years ago. First time I ever came here. It was on Ross's birthday, actually.
Oh, really?
Or it was her birthday, because they're a day apart. I can't remember which is which. It's like 10th interview and fell in love with the place.
Yeah.
Like, this is the place for me.
What do you like about it, though?
That's a good question. There's a lot. I don't like the barbecue. I think it's massively overrated. It's basically a pile of sweaty meat that
I'm
just
leaving. I
tastes.
cannot listen to this.
But no, I can give you one back. But it has the best steaks in the world.
Yeah. Good steakhouses.
Steaks are great. And I'm like, why do you want barbecue when you can have a steak? The barbecue's like meh, but the steaks are amazing. But so the food is great. A average steak in Texas is the best steak you get in the UK.
Yeah.
And the best steak you get here is the best in the world.
Oh, yeah. Dallas, in particular, steakhouses.
Actually, I've been to one in Dallas. I can't remember the name. It began with an M.
Albernays, Bob's.
Or was it Nick and Sam's?
Nick and Sam's is Dallas.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the guy at that place the other night,
Yeah.
he's pissed at me for keep saying that.
No.
But we should give him a shout out, because we've been to, how many times have we been to Three Forks?
At least 4 times this trip.
Yeah.
Bitcoiners, good men,
Yeah.
great steaks.
Great steaks.
Yeah.
Great steaks. Although we know the off menu stuff. He keeps telling us, we know it now, man. Brings out that bone in fillet. So I like that. I like the people, like the friends here.
Yeah.
I always know if I come here, there's like 20, 25 people I can call up and go for a beer.
Mm-hmm.
In some ways more than I have in Bedford now, because Bitcoin gives you that wide tent of people.
Sure.
What I like most of all about Austin is that Austin still has a progressive side to it,
Sure.
but it's got that shield of conservatism that kind of reins it in, that's just
Yeah.
around it.
Yeah, it's the blue city, red state sort of vibe. It's very interesting. Austin's not like, it's not even like when San Francisco was a blue city and a red state in California. Like Austin's progressive left side was always a little bit different.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know how to describe it. Like the keep Austin weird, it might be a Chamber of Commerce, marketing ploy, but it is pretty true. At least, I grew up here, 1983, born here. And that progressive side of Austin was always more like, I could have a regular job, but I'm also a juggler. You know, it's just weird people. You know, and there's something about like the vibe in Austin because of that.
Yeah, but
But it's not because of leftist politics, I don't think.
I would say Austin definitely has a progressive side to it.
Oh, sure.
And that's cool. And what I would say about a lot of the people who say, I love Texas because it's conservative, all the people who tell me that still live in Austin. So they live in the democratic part of Texas.
Yes.
And I think they underappreciate what the benefits that brings. I think anywhere that is too left or anywhere that's too right, it doesn't work. And I think this, for me, Austin's got it as better than anyone in the US. Like
I think so too.
if I could live in one place, the first place I'd choose is here. If it had a beach, it'd be the best in the world.
We got the lakes and the
lakes.
rivers.
But I like that. There is a definite sense of freedom here, which is interesting. Everyone kind of leaves you the fuck alone.
Yep.
But if you want to go party, you can go party.
Yep.
We sat in cool bars. We sat in a cool bar last night and watched the St. Peter's March Madness game.
Oh my God.
You following that story?
Incredible.
I mean,
first 15 seed ever, Elite Eight. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm going to talk about it like I know about it. I learned it all last night.
Oh, really?
And I've struggled to get into basketball. I don't like high-scoring sports. I like low-scoring sports like football, our football, or even your football.
That's a weird preference to have.
Well, because it's hard to score. So when it happens, it's like, wow, like one goal.
Yeah,
and
the
it's like,
elation that comes with in the build-up and the anticipation.
Whereas basketball, it's like they score so many, but so I never truly got it. I'd been to games, I've been to see the Lakers, I've been to see the Knicks, and I just never really got it. And then I watched the Jordan documentary, and I was like, okay, I understand the game a bit more now. But last night, watching that game, like I was figuring out, wasn't I? Jeremy will tell you, I was like figuring out the game as it happened and the strategy. And I was literally jumping around every basket. I mean, I wanted them to win just because of the story.
Yeah.
And also it's St. Peter's, so obviously I want them to win. Yeah. But I wanted to win because of the story. But I understood the momentum of the game. I started to realize which players they were bringing on at which point and why.
Defensive schemes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the set plays in basketball. I mean, every time they're going up and down the court, they have a plan.
Yeah.
It's not immediately obvious to like a casual viewer that like it's very strategic.
Also, what's interesting about it is it's a lot faster than the NBA.
Yep.
And I think it's more enjoyable because of that. And I think that's why I sometimes prefer college football because it's faster and they make more mistakes.
They make more mistakes.
Yeah. But what I noticed is how much instruction was coming from the coach as they were going up.
Yep.
You don't notice that as much in the NBA. I think they know what they're doing more.
College coaches are psychos.
Yeah.
They're screaming for 40 minutes, like top of their lungs, red-faced. You think about the guy who just retired at Duke, Coach K. He's been doing it for 40 years, every day, screaming at the top of his lungs, freaking out on 18-year-olds. Yeah, it's a weird game.
They're a small team as well.
St. Peter's?
Yeah, like in terms of like the size of the players.
Well, okay, so we were talking before this about how Major League Baseball is broken because there's no relegation, and so it's profitable to lose. Like the only thing we have that looks kind of like that is college basketball, where you have all these tiny teams, like in physical stature and in terms of the size of the school, that get to play at the highest level and get a shot. And this one is particularly interesting.
Why do you think they've managed to do it? What's special about them? From your side, as somebody who understands this.
It's I mean, I'm not an expert on this, but it's like some formation of the NCAA rules that allow like it's a designation of Division I sports.
No, why do you think they're doing well, this team? Why do you think? Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea. Like it's just random chaos and they call it March Madness, right? It's just anyone can win a basketball game. It's 5 players, right? One guy gets hot, you can win a game.
But going back, like
Austin,
Well, so one of the things I noticed when going back home, because I think one of the things that's sometimes hard for people to understand with the podcast or even with my Twitter is some of the opinions I have or some of the ways I look at things. Whereas I understand a lot more about, say, people in Texas and Austin because I spend time here. They haven't lived in Europe and Bedford. I spent time there understanding things. But what I've come to appreciate here is there is a lot more questioning of things here.
Yeah.
Whereas we don't get that back home. So I do the Scott Horton interview. For me, it's a chance to question what's happening in Ukraine, Russia. and a lot of people understand why I've done it. They may agree or disagree. But from back home, there's one guy specifically, a British guy, tweeted about, can you remember what he said?
No, I'm not
The
sure.
ugly games that he just tweeted out saying, look at these Bitcoiners, they support fringe conspiracy, crazy psychopaths or something. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm seen here as a lefty, and at home I'm seen as a crazy right guy.
Yeah.
And it's just a different experience. I feel like here you and I are going to have a way different conversation from my best friend when I go home.
Sure.
It's a way different conversation. So I just like that. And there's a lot to like here, but I like all the US. Like I still like New York.
Sure.
I still like LA.
I lived there for 9 years. Yeah.
San Francisco I'm really struggling with, but I like all of the US and I like the mix. And I think, like I say, I think you've got it right here. You can live in a progressive city, but you've got that wrapper that stops you going too far. And I just think it's great. I mean, look, why do you love it here? You moved here.
I mean, part of it's just that I grew up here, right? But it's
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was born here, grew up here. It's kind of an idyllic place to grow up, honestly. Like, it's safe. You have the University of Texas here, and you have a lot of, interesting people, right? It's a highly educated, safe place to grow up, right? But at the same time, it is kind of a cool place. So if you're into music, well, there are music festivals and people tour here, right? You're really close to Houston and Dallas. You can get out there to, for the big city life, although that's kind of Austin now. It was kind of an idyllic place to grow up. But like for me, more than anything, it's that Austin has like a very Texas vibe in terms of like the independent spirit, right? Almost everyone I knew growing up's parents worked for themselves. They had their own businesses. It could have been a restaurant, business. My dad had his own software consultancy business. Like no one seemed to have real jobs. Everyone was independent. At some point, I don't know if this is still true, even Austin had the highest proportion of independent restaurants of any metropolitan city in the United States. It was all local, right? Austin had its own personality because it wasn't all chain stores, chain restaurants. And but it also wasn't particularly wealthy when I was growing up.
Okay.
Pre-Dell, right? There were no major, huge corporations here. So all that independent vibe, we were just working for people in Dallas or consulting for them, stuff like that. But that independent sort of nature of the people, at least I was around in Austin, definitely got into my blood, right? And I think actually helped me with Bitcoin later. In fact, it's almost hard for me, like when you tell your story, it's like, how did anyone in Europe value Bitcoin if you don't have the same sort of independent or questioning values that you might find in Texas, right?
Well, I think it's completely different reasons. And I think this is the reason why Bitcoin has taken off in the US and hasn't really in Europe. You've got fringe people, but I think a lot of people first got in for the gains.
Yeah.
And I think it's only right now that people would maybe really start to question it outside. Look, we have libertarians in Europe.
Sure.
And we have conservatives in Europe, but we don't have...
They're not prominent, though.
No. Well,
they're not even necessarily well respected.
And it's a different style of conservatism as well in Europe. But now, suffering high inflation, weirdness from our governments, I think people are starting to question it. But it's definitely different. You come for the gains, you stay for the whatever you choose to stay for.
Yeah.
And it puts us at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
And there isn't really a significant European Bitcoin scene. There is a European Bitcoin scene, but not significant. We have pockets of people or ideas and some companies, but we don't. Like here in Austin and Texas, it feels like it's becoming what our mutual friend Parker Lewis wants. It's becoming
the Bitcoin capital.
The Bitcoin capital of the world.
Yeah.
Because I can't even put my finger on it. You can probably do it better than me because you're from here. But I've said it before on the show and people cringe, but it just feels like a very American idea, Bitcoin, especially a Texas idea.
Well, it's very optimistic, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's an accident that it's here in Austin. Austin has a pretty long history in the Bitcoin world, going all the way back to, I'm only aware of it from 2011 and forward, but, the early ASIC miners, Cointerra, like the first people shipping out machines based here in Austin. A lot of the early mining stuff on GPUs was here in Austin, also in Florida, obviously. But also, you had the sort of I don't know, I would credit, Pierre Rochard, Michael Goldstein, Deanna Kravitz, the Satoshi Nakamoto Institute guys. They're at University of Texas, and they really popularized the Austrian view of Bitcoin and treating Bitcoin less as a technology and more as money. And I could be getting my dates off here a little bit, but that 2013, 2014, 2015, like that narrative wasn't really the predominant narrative in Bitcoin at that time until they popularized it. And that started here. I give them a huge amount of credit. And they brought a lot of attention to Austin because of it. But also, like, there was, I say it wasn't accidental. There's the character of Austin that we talked about before, but it's also that those of us that were participating here from, early days all the way up to now, there was like pretty heavy curation, right? Like, we made sure that we were surrounding ourselves with high integrity people that were in it for the right reasons from our viewpoint. And it wasn't always easy. Like, Austin could also be like the shitcoin capital of the world. It's like, that's where Factum was started. And
I bought Factum.
Did you?
Yeah, I bought Factum.
Poor man.
I made money on Factum.
Did you?
Back in my shitcoin days. I think so.
Yeah, good for you, I guess. But like, at the time, it was like, that was those guys were really influential here in Austin. And we had to make a decision. There's all these schisms that happened, 2013, 2014, 2015, where we just have to sort of take our ball and go home and just be like, we don't want to surround ourselves with these people.
Yeah.
And then we'd, shrink back down to like 10 people at my house, talking about Bitcoin. And then, Justin Moon comes in and starts BitDevs and all that. But we were constantly going from, 300 people in a room back down to 20, 300 people in a room back down to 20. Now we're back to 300 people in a room, but it's been like kind of brutal curation to make sure that we could surround ourselves with high integrity people. And
you're not going back to 20.
No, I don't think so. Not now.
I think that's another reason I like it here, actually. That's an interesting point, is that when I come here, I get to do my work, whatever, but I get to be a Bitcoiner. When I go home, I don't get to be a Bitcoiner. So I go back to Bedford. Last time I went out, I went back for the weekend, went out with my 4 best friends. Like, thinking back, Bitcoin didn't come up once, right? Yeah. we were watching the rugby. We talked about that. We talked about where we're living, like relationships. We talk about all the stuff.
Well, that's good. It doesn't all have to be Bitcoin all the time.
But what I'm saying is, the only time Bitcoin comes up is if my kids ask me anything. There's no scene, or maybe if I'm at the club doing the football thing. But it doesn't come up. It's just not a thing. I don't have a Bitcoin community, not only not in Bedford, in England. I just don't have it.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. Whereas I come here and I'm like, cool, I'm going to see Parker, I'm going to see Will, I'm going to see Justin, I'm going to see Marty, I'm going to see a bunch of people, and we're going to go out to dinner. And by the way, we're not all going to just discuss Bitcoin. We'll discuss other things.
Of course.
You and I have had long conversations about what happened in Ireland. And, we talk about other things.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Rock, paper, scissors. We should bring that up.
Yeah, at some point. Yeah.
At some point. That's my biggest claim to fame now. But what I'm saying is I get to get into the weeds and challenge myself on some of my ideas. And they have to be challenged because I come from a very different world and very different perspectives. And I get to come here and have that challenge. That's another reason I like it here. And I do see, I see a world where I end up owning a property here. I do see that.
But, that dynamic that you're talking about, that's intelligent design in Austin. It didn't just sporadically happen. And there's a lot of people over a long time. Parker's put it on steroids now. He's really, driven this home. But, it's been around for a long time. And I give most of the credit to Pierre and Michael for setting the tone in Austin. Then Pierre had to take off to New York. Everyone does that in their 20s at some point. But he's back here now. And we actively recruit people. We shame people for not living here. We give them tours of the city. We buy them cowboy boots. We woo them, right? Because I don't know. Everyone talks about Bitcoin citadels and all this. It's like, well, we're not on a pastoral ranch in Wyoming right now, but we have curated our own community of people to surround ourselves with, right? And it's very purposeful.
And another interesting thing here is on the regulatory side,
Yes.
on the political side.
Yeah.
It feels like there's almost universal buy-in, and you might tell me something different that I don't know.
Yeah.
But it does feel like there's a real understanding of why Bitcoin is important, why it's good for Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And got to meet Governor Abbott, which was fascinating.
That's awesome.
I've observed Senator Cruz from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's not popular with everyone, but he certainly speaks about Bitcoin in an intelligent way. And that's a really important protection.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think in Texas we have a winning strategy for that. I mean, politicians are politicians, right? Like they want to get elected. And being pro Bitcoin right now is a popular thing to do. You get attention.
We'll take it.
Yeah, you get media, you get all those things. But there's something very real in Texas. I mean, we're dominating everyone, which is the mining sector, right? The deregulated grid, the independent grid. Texas has a different grid than the rest of the United States. And I like the way Griffin Habey, out of Houston talks about this. It's just like, you have all these wildcatter mentalities here that are used to, making huge bets on desert land and poking holes in it, right? And you have this risk-taking mentality, and those people see the value of Bitcoin mining in Texas, and they're a real political group. That's how people get elected in Texas, is around the energy conversation. And Bitcoin's becoming a central point of the energy conversation for our grid, for the profitability of some of these huge companies that Texan jobs rely on, what's happening out in Rockdale. Like, there's a reason politicians are doing it. And it's not just because of Twitter. It's because it's actually reshaping the Texas economy. They can see, they do have a vision for that. And so, yeah, I mean, it's hard to be anti-Bitcoin and be a Texas politician at this point.
Well, that energy side itself is super fascinating. We had Sean Connell.
Yeah.
Do you know Sean?
Yeah.
We had him on the show the other day, talked to him about it. He told me a bunch of things that I didn't understand about.
I'm still learning, yeah.
Dude, some of the things he was telling me I just completely didn't understand about the grid. But he came on and explained a bunch of things. And one of the things he said is there was like one day recently where 70% of the energy in was it Texas or Austin?
In Austin.
In Austin came from renewables, which I didn't know that. There's been a massive investment in renewables here, which again I didn't understand. But he was getting into the details of like how the grid works, how you have to have insurance on the grid. Say if something breaks down, that you've got the insurance energy providers are there to load into the grid. And he was talking about the role that mining plays in the grid, and it's fucking fascinating because you have people like Senator Warren who've used energy file as a way to attack Bitcoin, where actually the whole narrative is flipping the complete other way, whereby actually Bitcoin is going to protect the energy sector and protect the grid.
Yes.
It's like unbelievable.
No, it's capitalism, right? Like Warren doesn't get it. It's like you don't just get renewable energy for free. You have to invest in it. And so in order to invest in it, it needs to be profitable. In order for it to be profitable, it has to be integrated into the grid that we have now. And you need demand in order to build the supply of it. Texas is very unique in that we have this like corridor, up there, in the panhandle and everything, where we get wind and solar. Like, we're the only place where you have everything. You have the natural gas, you have wind, you have solar. You can really make a play where 70% of the energy comes from that. Now, it's not sufficient. You need, on-demand energy like natural gas and hydrocarbons in order to actually stabilize the grid. But at any given time, we could, in theory, have 70% of the grid going renewables.
I think you can go higher. We talked about it with them.
Yeah. Oh, no, I mean, they could. I mean, they should be overbuilding it to 200, 300% capacity. I mean, the way these guys talked last week at our event at the Bitcoin Commons, it blew my mind. We might have, 70 gigawatts of energy used or built out in Texas on the Texas grid right now. And they're talking about building out 10 gigawatts just for mining in Texas over the next 5-7 years.
Is Texas going to become the new China of Bitcoin mining?
It is. I mean, all the Chinese miners are coming.
I
here.
know.
All of them. And part of it's just because we already had good infrastructure set up. I mean, they'll end up going to places like Wyoming as well, but Wyoming doesn't have the infrastructure. If you need 300 megawatts tomorrow, like you can't do that in Wyoming. You can do that here.
It's becoming a real base for Bitcoin companies and Bitcoiners to come in now, which is surprising that other states haven't recognized what is happening here.
Yeah, I think people are starting to catch on, right?
Janet Yellen. All right, it was a bit of a shitcoiny statement. It was cryptocurrency, not Bitcoin. But to see her shift,
I don't know if I trust that.
Oh, I don't trust any of them.
Yeah.
I know everything is self-interest.
Yeah.
Right? But Bitcoin is one of the ultimate self-interest tools.
Sure.
So fuck it, we'll take it.
But yeah, like what you said in politics, it's almost becoming untenable to be anti-Bitcoin. Like, Warren's going to do Warren things and she can have fun with that. But like Western Democrats, energy producing states, like they're going to want this too. I mean, this is real jobs. I'm not sure if you saw the presentation the guy did from the campus up in Rockdale, the old Alcoa plant.
When was this?
This was on Friday.
Oh, yeah, no, I was you had to leave. Were you there?
Yes, I was, but I missed that.
Okay, yeah. So he was talking about, this is going to be 400 jobs in the next year for this data, for the Bitcoin mine. It's like 4 different data centers. They're doing everything from like air cooling to submersion, all this, but it's 400 jobs, and they're not low paying jobs. They're really good jobs, and like that's what motivates politicians. And if you think like politicians in Nevada aren't going to catch on to that, and they have energy to spare. Of course they're going to.
And again, if you think about game theory of Bitcoin and you want Bitcoin to be a success, the most important country in the world to accept it and adopt it is the US, because a lot of countries follow lead.
Yeah. It's very counterintuitive though, right? Because,
of course.
We kind of had the best money for a long time, but yet we're the most motivated to replace that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends where you talk about where the motivation comes from. I'm a firm believer in that we're in a transitional shift between America and China, which is being fought on a currency front.
Sure.
And the way America can defend itself as a decentralized nation, the republic is decentralized, is with a decentralized currency. Now, it's counterintuitive to politicians who like control.
Yeah.
But actually, a decentralized currency is what will give this country strength going forward.
Yeah, I mean, we have 50 sovereigns that make up the United States. And I think most people don't recognize how important like state sovereignty in the United States is. Like when we met in Wyoming, we were passing all those bills, the Wyoming Blockchain Task Force. When we'd start drafting these, and when Chris Land's writing them, we would have conversations with the federal entities, with FinCEN, with the FDIC, and they'd all try to scare us. They'd be like, "Oh, you don't want to do that. Just slow down a little bit. Wait 2 years. We haven't figured out what we're going to do yet." And I give Tyler Lindholm a lot of credit. He just said, "Fuck it, we're doing it." He didn't wait for anyone. He didn't wait for the, blockchain association or coin whatever. They just did it on their own. And then once we did, all those same people came back and were like, "Good luck. You got 2 years. Everyone's going to copy you." And we're like, "Oh, you're not mad?" And they're like, "How could we be mad? You're a fucking state. You can do whatever you want." Right. And
I love Tyler.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And he did a great job with that. I had very little to do with it. But at the same time, it's like the state sovereignty is such a big deal. And of course, states can't print their own money. They're at a disadvantage from other sovereigns because they can't print money. But they can take an interest in Bitcoin. Wyoming, Alaska, New Mexico, they have sovereign wealth funds. They can buy Bitcoin with that. We're trying to get them to, right? And they can, flex their sovereign muscles in the United States, which is difficult to do in other places, right? Especially if you're in the EU and you're on the euro, like you're in big trouble.
Wow, that was one of the things I'm thankful about with the UK is we didn't.
Yeah. At least you had your own money.
Yeah, well, we had a referendum and we said no, which was a smart decision. Now we've actually left the EU, which there are arguments for and against. I recognize both.
I don't. I don't recognize both. For. Good on them.
my role is to recognize everyone's opinion and allow everyone to have an opinion, from the anarcho-capitalists to the communists.
I was very surprised when I was younger visiting the UK. I thought I would find, my Texas brothers in Scotland. Was not the case.
No, you won't.
It's more Ireland.
Yeah. West coast of Ireland, you'll probably find a little bit more. But yeah, no, you won't find that. But we don't have. I think this is there's a couple of things. It's that cultural establishment of the United States.
Yeah.
How it was birthed, but the fact that it's a republic.
Yeah.
We don't have. God, I piss people off because I talk about this so much, but we don't have the ability to move somewhere else if we don't like the rules.
Sure.
Unless we leave the country. But that doesn't really work. People can't just leave the country. You can't just. I mean, you can.
Yeah, but you can drive to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, we saw it. How many people left New York for Miami? How many people left California for Texas?
Yeah.
We know it happened. But we don't really have that. Like, I'm in Bedford. If I go to Manchester, it's the same. If I go to London, it's the same. It's the same rules, same set of rules.
We had it more in the EU, to be fair.
We did. That is a fair point. But they try to harmonize the rules across the EU.
And then you have to speak Italian.
That's true.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Italy is the best place in Europe.
Is it?
Outside of Bedford, it's the best place.
I've been to like Rome as a tourist. I don't really know. Anything.
I mean, Rome's awesome just because it's like a giant museum.
Sure.
The whole city's a museum. But it's a great country because they've been very good at maintaining their Italian culture.
Yeah.
You go to somewhere like Florence, you're not going to go for a McDonald's.
Sure.
You're going to.
Hasn't been Americanized.
Yeah. But Danny does make a good point. But there was things. I mean, I'm out of my depth here. Danny can probably look this up. But I'm pretty sure that, like, a perfect example of what's wrong with the EU was Ireland was given advantageous tax positions to Silicon Valley tech giants. So LinkedIn went there, Facebook went there,
Apple was there.
everyone went there, but they ended up getting fined. It was something like 9 billion. No, the companies got fined. Something like 9 billion, or Apple got fined multiple billions, but the fine was to be paid to the Irish government.
Yeah.
And the Irish government didn't want the fine, even though it's huge, because they wanted to give those tax advantages.
Yeah.
Now, surely the best thing to do is to allow every single nation to establish its own tax rules, so you have competition. That's what would make sense, but they didn't allow it. Can you look that up?
Yeah, I think that was actually overturned. I think they didn't have to pay it in the end.
Huh. I mean, I knew about the
13
domiciling.
billion.
13 billion. Was it Apple?
Yeah, Apple.
Yeah.
But it was overturned by the looks of it.
Okay, interesting.
And then Trump passed some law to let them re-domicile some of that money to get it back, in the U.S., like a tax, holiday type thing. Yeah.
Huh. So the Irish are just allowed to have a different set of tax rules.
Well, it was a 2016 rule that meant Apple had to pay 13 billion, but in 2020 it was overruled.
It's funny because Ireland could do with that money.
Well, the weirdest thing that happens in Europe, I think, I've told this story, so maybe I'm just wrong on this. Maybe I'm just going to lie to all your listeners here, but my understanding of it is Switzerland, who does have their own currency,
and guns.
and guns. I think it's like compulsory to own guns in
don't know
Finland
about
and
that.
Switzerland. Yeah. But anyway, they do this really weird thing, which is, they have the power of the printing press and a currency that has at least some demand in the world. It's a decent enough currency, and they print francs and buy U.S. equities for free. And I think about this all the time. When I think about like in games for Bitcoin of like, how do nation states, adopt it and, all these different things. I look at what Switzerland does where they print francs, and they're smart enough not to do this in like an egregious fashion of like, take over, a U.S. company or anything, but they own U.S. equities by just printing their own money. And I was thinking that might be the end game for Bitcoin, is one of the big 5 currencies of someone.
Why would you not?
Giving it, I mean, it's the last hope. But like when I talk to the people in Wyoming, it's like, well, you're sovereign, but you can't do that, right? So you have to get in before someone does that, right?
Someone explained something similar to me recently. They said the US has the ability to print oil.
What do you mean by that?
And then they can print dollars and buy oil.
Yeah, basically.
So they can print oil.
Yeah.
No other country can really do that because it was the petrodollar.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah.
The only other country that was close that could do that would be Russia, but their currency shit. So,
Well, it's had a resurgence this last week when they came out. They said, what was it? Unfriendly nations now have to buy our natural resources with the ruble.
oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
What a shit show that is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but going back to like that point of like, printing francs and buying US equities, the end game is someone debases their currency. The first one to cheat wins, right? I think of all the US states right now I don't think the US is going to be the first to cheat and win. Like they have too much invested in the dollar to do that. So we're going to get caught with our pants down, which means that the states themselves have to protect themselves by using, vehicles like the Permanent Mineral Trust Fund in Wyoming to buy as much Bitcoin as they can right now. Like it's the only option, I think. Thinking about all the different sovereigns and how they might take on a Bitcoin standard. I think that's basically it. The states themselves here are going to have to buy Bitcoin.
What is the difficulty in them doing it? Is there like a regulatory thing? Is there something blocking them? Or is it just like us? When you first hear about Bitcoin, I'm not going to buy it with real money.
Yeah, it's basically that.
It's too expensive.
Most of them have the ability to do this, right? Like, so you have the electeds, you have the governor and the treasurer and, all this. And, vaguely this is under, or not vaguely, literally this is under the office of the treasurer, the state treasurer, right? And they're allowed to invest in a lot of things. They invest in private equity, in VC deals. They invest in private companies all the time, right? So if they wanted to, they have the legislative approval to buy Bitcoin if they wanted to. It's just, it's a scary proposition to them right now.
I think with this show's going to come out after the conference.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to get Nation. I have no inside information, but I think we're going to get Nation 2 there.
I've heard similar.
You've heard so you've heard it. So
I don't know who, but I've heard.
Well, there's been a lot of hints that it's Honduras.
Yeah, I've heard Honduras and Haiti and a few of
Yeah, I think it's going
a few H's. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be, we have some fun there. Okay, so listen, we do want to talk about CBDCs.
Oh, sure.
The antithesis of Bitcoin.
Yes.
The worst money that could ever exist.
Yeah.
I know you're worried about this.
I'm very worried about this. I think that, some of the things that have come out of the United States where we're like toying with research projects into CBDCs and we have politicians saying we have to compete with China. I hope people know what that means. And in my mind, what that means is complete and utter financial surveillance, like forever. It is the absolute antithesis of Bitcoin. It's the absolute antithesis of the United States or Western, freedom as we know it. It's the ultimate financial surveillance. And I think that anytime someone hears the word CBDC, they should just think commie gobbledygook. Like it is the absolute end game for government surveillance over your life. And we're getting little brief pictures into this right now, even. And I know it's almost cliche at this point, even though it's only been a couple weeks, months, since the financial censorship in Canada, right, for the truckers because they like to honk too much and kept people awake, that their lives were completely financially ruined through a rather difficult measure of shutting down the bank accounts for all the leaders involved, getting
people who donated.
And people who donated, yes. But that was actually kind of a complicated nuclear bomb for the Canadians to pull off, right? It would be trivial in a CBDC world where the central government I don't even think CBDCs are even going to do centralized blockchains. It's just a digital currency that is issued directly from the central bank. I think they would hope to do it directly to people where they have absolute visibility and control over the flow of funds. And right now, it's difficult for them to exert that type of control over people. Like Canada was a surprise. Like, it's the first time we've seen it to that extent, right? Where Like literally, like financial censorship is how you ruin someone's life at the end of the day.
Well, this is where the US again needs to take the lead, because you really want the Canadian government to be thinking, do we want to follow the US lead or the Chinese lead with something like this? Because I think if you want to do a CBDC, if you want to compete with China, that's why you're doing a CBDC, or you're basically going to have to be better at surveillance, and you're going to have to be better
That's
at
the
control.
implication.
Yeah, you have to
right?
be better at it. If you want to compete with it, you've got to be better at it. Look at the soft influence China's had over the world over the last decade.
Oh,
right?
sure.
Because they're very good at surveillance and social credit scores and authoritarianism. So if you want to win that, you've got to be better at that. So you've got to have a better CBDC. You've got to be better at control. And the US won't be. It can't beat China at authoritarianism.
No.
Because you have freedoms here.
Supposedly.
So to beat them, you've got to be better at the opposite. You've got to have a better idea, which is freedom money.
Yeah.
So that's the fucking answer.
It's the same battle we've been having for 150 years around dictatorial control and communism and open market capitalism and Western freedoms, right? It's the same story. And when I hear we need to compete with China with CBDCs, or European Union needs to look into this, I just think just replace CBDC with communist rule, right? Like I know it's not literally the same thing,
Yeah.
but like that's the way people should be, processing this in their brains. And I would just say, again, another cliche is like, people complaining about cancel culture and stuff like that. I hate that it's already cliche, because I think it's real, right? And what I would ask people is, do you think over the next 5-10 years that that's going to get better or worse?
Well, I think we know.
Yeah. And if it's going to be worse and the government has control to the level that a CBDC would allow them to have control, then you are ruined as an individual, completely ruined. And the only antidote to that is Bitcoin that I can think of.
Yeah, I'm with you. And one of the challenges I've found with it is communicating this to normies, especially my side of the pond.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder. I give you a great example. My Facebook now is really advertising for the podcast, right?
Yeah.
Here's a show and a bit about the football. But I did start trying to share ideas from guests who come on the show.
Oh no, are you effort posting on Facebook now?
Just low effort.
Okay.
Just low effort, just to try and get people around to the idea. I want to convert as many people to Bitcoin
Sure,
as
of course.
possible. And if anyone went back through my timeline, they would have seen I was pretty much sharing the general narrative with regards to inflation is coming, consider Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people would say, oh, okay, Pete was right. Well, Pete wasn't right. The community was right. I shared it, but they would share that. I put out a thing about CBDCs saying, you want to be very careful about these. This is what it is. This is how they work. This is what it means for the government. My friend's mum blocked me. I can't remember what she put. She put something like, oh, I can't deal with any more of your conspiratorial nonsense, and then blocked me. I think a lot of people in the UK can be easily sold a CBDC.
I think so too. And it scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, but really easily. Oh, here's the benefits. Here's Britcoin, as Richie Sunak said. Here's Britcoin. Yeah, it's going to be centrally controlled. We can manage interest rates. Yada, like we can issue benefits centrally. This is going to be great. And any of the people I know who are against it right now, the people based in the UK, they are considered nutters.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not whether we're right or wrong. It's like, how do we communicate this?
How do we, right? Like, how do you okay, I'm not trying to shit on people in the UK.
No, you can. By the way, but like,
if you don't understand the value of why individuals should own guns and why you should be skeptical of people who want to take guns away from you, right? Who also happen to have guns themselves, right? I think it's a similar line of logic to wondering why you would have anything to hide, in your financial life, right? Or like why you wouldn't want someone at a push of a button to be able to financially say, well, you can't spend your money anymore, or you can only spend it in this way at these institutions, right? It's a similar line of logic of paranoia that an individual would have to just say like, well, why would I cede that control over to you in the first place?
That's never, as a line of reasoning, I get it. It's never going to work in the UK. We have no gun culture. we have no recent history of gun culture
Sure.
in the last
Just stabby
centuries.
knife culture.
Yeah, but that's really just gang culture.
Yeah,
That's just gangs killing each other. We just don't have that culture.
So in what way
You would
in your
never-
hometown do people exert their individual liberties? Like what would matter to them? Like private property, obviously not guns. Is it voting rights? Is it, like what would they hold sacred that they have that the state can't take away from them?
It's almost like we don't really have a culture of thinking about that.
Really?
Yeah, we're a lot more. I think the things that are more sacred, strangely enough, Danny, correct me if you think I'm wrong here. We're sacred about the more socialist elements of society.
Okay.
The NHS is sacred in the UK, not with everyone, and certainly I would imagine if you could measure how popular it was, it has waned.
Sure.
It has dropped because medicine advances so much. It's become more and more expensive. It seems like a black hole of money that goes in, and the service has dropped. Wait times for ambulance is longer. Wait time for treatment is longer. It is an issue. Right?
I did notice that, I've been doing remote hiring since about 2012. My previous company, Stack Overflow, about half of our company was overseas. And in places with socialized medicine, UK, France, when we would hire people there, one of the main things they wanted was private insurance, health insurance, outside of their government.
Because they've
solution.
never
Yeah.
once experienced the situation where they can't phone up and get an ambulance or go to a doctor and get seen. They've never experienced that. And to come to a country where you might not have that is an issue.
Oh, no, I was saying the opposite.
Oh,
We had a lot of leverage with people in the UK and in France because when we would make them offers, we could get them private insurance. And they valued that way higher than any wage increases. We could give them,
well,
which is very interesting.
Yeah. No, sorry, I understand that.
Yeah.
I thought you meant when they were coming here.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no. But the thing is, this is what makes me laugh about private insurance, right? I mean, either answer this generally or personally, but like, what's private healthcare? What's the cost of insurance here?
I have no idea.
But my assumption
it's
for
a few
most
$1,000s a month. It's expensive.
okay, a few $1,000s a month, and then you've got your
Obamacare stuff.
No. You've got the deductible as well,
Yep.
right? Okay, I have private insurance for me and my two kids in the UK. We have the highest level of cover. We have see next day cancer cover.
Yeah.
Right? It's brilliant. It's the best you can get.
How much does it cost?
I think it's about somewhere between 150 and 180 pound a month. Okay, I am still paying for the NHS. Okay, and I know the NHS subsidize part of it. I'm pretty sure they do, but at the same time, that's not a lot of money. And I've used it. I used it for my back operation. I would have had to wait God knows how long. I was seen within 3 days. I had my operation within 3 days of requesting it. Went into a private hospital and had it done. Doctors have a wait. I can go to a private medical center in Bedford. If Bedford High Street has it, most places has it. I can get a doctor's appointment. It's £50.
But this is only because you're on private insurance, right?
No. That is just, anyone can walk into that place and pay £50 for an appointment. My point being is people in the UK, they have private options that are very, very cheap.
Yeah.
Yes, it's probably subsidized, right?
Yeah,
By the NHS. But at the same time, they have that option.
Yep.
But I would say, when you say what do people hold sacred, I think we hold that we are, I think we hold, this. People aren't going to like this here in America. We hold collectivist things as sacred.
Sure.
We hold the NHS as sacred. What do you think on that?
I mean, yeah, the NHS definitely is. I mean, when you talk about private property, I think that is as well. Like, I think people value that. I also think maybe it's not totally fair to say that people in the UK don't think critically like they do here, because that's not my
I didn't
experience.
say that, though, did I?
But yeah, a little bit.
Well, how
Like you
did I
said
say
that
it?
like people aren't thinking critically about like a CBDC, but I mean, I know from my experience, like I even had my mum text me being like, "This sounds scary. What is it?"
Okay, interesting. I just haven't seen it myself. The one instance is of somebody,
Yeah.
and that's obviously not a statistically significant number.
Sure.
But the people I've seen talking about it on Twitter, British people, are the same people who fit in well here in Texas, right?
Yeah.
There's that people. Like,
Yeah. The Bavarians in Germany. Like,
the
they
Bavarians
get
in
it.
Germany.
Yeah.
But I just think, I'm actually stumped when you say, what do we hold sacred? Because we don't have that history of freedom and liberty like you have here in Texas. So it's not something we hold sacred because
Sure.
we've never really had it.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like, I mean, certainly you had some of it, like feudal periods, where, very weak central government. Like, what do we know about the kings and queens of England? It's like,
We hold the Queen sacred.
but I mean, when they actually had real power, what I at least know about it is that it was a really weak form of central government where if they stepped out of line, like, what do we know about them? They all get murdered. Like, they all get murdered, or people don't help them out. They don't, come to arms when they're needed. But like, when I think about this, like, I think it's very easy for people to get duped into thinking that it's the exact same affinity scam with altcoins, where they try to cuddle up to Bitcoin and say, oh, we're just like that. We're just like Bitcoin. We're just a little bit different, over here, but we're basically the same. And a lot of people fall for that. VCs all over the United States fall for that every single day. Is that when people talk about CBDCs, they're going to talk about it in Bitcoin terms as a digital currency, they're not going to say decentralized, but they are going to try to compare it to Bitcoin and get the reputation that Bitcoin has as being innovative and groundbreaking and apply it to themselves and say, but we just tweaked a few things, when in reality they tweaked everything, right? And where everything means that there's no such thing as censorship resistance. In fact, the whole point of it is censorship, right? It couldn't be more opposite than the pitch that Bitcoin makes. Yet it's going to be pitched to the public as Bitcoin was this great invention, but it has these flaws and we fixed them, when really they've just taken the entire value proposition away. I don't know if that's a too simplistic way to put it.
No, I completely agree with you.
Yeah. And I worry because I get calls from hedge fund managers who are like, oh, well, I heard that, the US is working on a Bitcoin of their own. And it's like, these are smart people. And I find it to be very worrying that through techno babble and false comparisons, that people could be lulled into what I would see as the greatest disaster for liberty and personal freedom that certainly of my lifetime, anything I can think of.
Do you think it's technically doable?
Sure.
Because one of the things I also worry about it is that one of the
as long as they use SQL databases, right? Like, it'll be fast. Yeah.
You don't think they're going to do a blockchain?
I don't think they can.
It's not going to be on Solana.
No. I mean, it could be on Solana. I guess that's centralized enough for them. Yeah.
Yeah, look, it does. Like, I share every one of your fears. It scares the shit out of me. It's communicating this in a way that sounds intelligent. Like, I'm going to talk about something now that, because it pisses me off. I haven't spoken about this publicly yet. I had the opportunity to write for the Financial Times.
Oh.
I've had two opportunities recently. One was with the Spectator and one with the Financial Times. You all right with me talking about this?
Yeah, I think you should.
Fuck it. The Spectator wrote a very anti-Bitcoin article. I tweeted at the guy. I said, I think you're wrong. Yada, yada. I can't remember what I said. Happy to help you. And he got in touch. He said, do you want to write something? And we did. Send it to him. He had some edits.
Yeah.
And I was annoyed about edits because I was like, this is an op-ed. And I spoke to Alex Gladstein. He said, no, you just have to accept with some of the major publications, you can have some edits.
Yeah.
But like, as long as you're okay with the article, then just go with it because you get to communicate and they know their audience. And the Spectator amends were very minor. It was fine. It went out. It was a great article. And then we had the opportunity with the Financial Times. I appeared on one of their podcasts to talk about Bitcoin. Apparently, it was one of their most popular podcasts ever because that happens. People want to hear about Bitcoin. And so then came up the opportunity to write for them. That might be a column.
Yeah.
So we'd have like I don't know if it's going to be monthly or weekly, but a column to talk about Bitcoin. We did version 1, got some edits. Did version 2, got some edits. By the time we got to version 4, it was basically bullshit.
It's just theirs.
And it wasn't just like, oh, can we edit it? It was like wholesale changes. And in the end, it's like, this is, I don't even fucking believe this anymore. This is so watered down. This isn't what Bitcoin's about. So anyway, I went back to the guy. I said, look, I don't want to do this. This is bullshit. Like, and he said, I'll come back with another version. How long did we spend on it?
What are they
a month at least?
A month.
What's their goal? What are they trying to get you to not say?
That's a good question because this was months ago. I just gave up. I was like, fuck it. I don't even want a column in the Financial Times. This is bullshit. I'm going to release the original on a Substack or something.
Yeah.
It just took all the edge out of it.
Yeah, it took all the edge. Like all the, this is what's happening in Salvador. This is what it means. This is what Bitcoin offers you. And it just became like this watered down. And I think they were worrying about a combination of readers and their boss.
Yeah.
But in doing that, it wasn't an honest article about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It was just, it's compared to the other stuff about Bitcoin out there, it would have been good, but it was the wrong article. And I was like, I wouldn't say these things, so I'm not having it out there. So yeah, basically I wrote to the guy and he said do another version. I was like, I just can't be bothered.
Yeah.
It's like we've spent a month on one article. We've done 4 or 5 versions and I don't like it. So yeah, fuck it. Sorry, Financial Times, but fuck off.
So why do Europeans, I mean, I'm coming across as very ignorant in this podcast so far about the mentality of, the typical UK, citizen or European citizen, but like, why do they like Bitcoin right now? So let's hash this out. Like we're trying to figure out how to,
because they made money on it. I mean,
Really?
there will be people like you who like it for the reasons you like it.
Sure.
But it's a very small number. Most people will like it because they make... Danny, please correct me if you ever disagree because you're British as well. But I think... and maybe it's a similar thing in Australia anyway.
But I think it's probably similar in America on the whole, that most people at least start for the gains. Like, I don't think most people in America are in it for the freedom.
But there's a lot more foundational
100%,
freedom people here.
100%, yeah.
I don't think we have that foundational freedom thing.
But I think that changes over time. Like, that's something that Bitcoin changes in the people that get into Bitcoin.
I like the motivation of people who want to make money. I think that's a perfectly reasonable reason to like Bitcoin, is that number goes up, right? Like we've had a joke about it for years now, but that's a good reason to want to be in Bitcoin. So let's lean into that, right? Which is, I might be worried about, the infringements on, personal freedoms. Like, in the United States, the worry would be that they don't have to ban guns in the United States anymore with the CBDC. They just have to make it impossible for you to transfer money to gun manufacturers. And so they don't have to abolish the Second Amendment. They don't have to amend the Constitution. They don't have to take anything away. They just have to make it impossible for you to transact, right? So that's what I'm afraid of. But it's the same logic then if you want to hold on to your wealth, right? And you have the exact same ability to inflate the currency as much as you want. Like, that's something that a European who wants to make money and is motivated by, a profit mentality or a savings mentality would realize in a CBDC is that the games that central bankers play right now around trying to control the money supply in this futile effort to control the world, actually, the tools that they have to do that become much more sophisticated and simple. And what we know about the currency wars that people have right now is that, central banks are incentivized right now to debase their currency the fastest way possible, which is to print money, because that way they can keep jobs in their country. They can drive down labor prices. Like, that is actually the goal of the central bank in the UK, is they want to debase their currency faster than anyone else. And that could be a motivation. And the CBDC makes this infinitely easier for them to do. It might not, resonate with, your friends that you never talk to Bitcoin about, but, my side of it, but that side of it should work.
Well, it is becoming more obvious. Listen, the price to fill up your car in the moment in the UK is a lot. Everything's getting really noticeably expensive. Yeah. Food is getting expensive.
It's terrifying.
Like, if we have enough people out there telling the reason why it's happening, rather than reading in the press the bullshit about why it's happening, if we can get that communicated across without sounding like some nutter, then you have a chance. And there are people listening. I have had in the last couple of months a handful more people get in touch and say, I want to learn a bit more about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But it is small, but it's growing.
Yeah.
That's definitely growing, that side of it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then from that, you might be able to elevate the conversation to freedom, to some of the control that government has that people don't realize they have, the expansion of government, the expansion of laws,
How they finance wars.
how they finance
How they
wars.
finance incarceration. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and that conversation in the UK is definitely happening more with like Russell Brand,
Yep.
Majid. Like these people are like growing that conversation.
They are. Majid's a tricky one because he's so focused on a niche right now.
He wasn't before this war though.
No, you're right. You're right. And what it is
And he's talked a lot about CBDCs.
he does.
Does he?
Yeah, he did. He talked about it on Rogan.
Okay.
I mean,
Oh
it's-
yeah, that's right. That was a phenomenal episode. Yeah, I don't listen to many, but I listened to that. That was really good.
that was really good.
He actually understood it. Yeah, deeply.
We're hopefully going to be having him on soon as well. And,
Okay.
And I don't want to get into the war with him. I want to get into that side of things with him. We need more.
Does
of that.
Russell Brand talk about this?
Yeah.
Who would have guessed? He's like your most famous intellectual now out of the UK.
He kind of gets into it from a different angle. Like he talks about Bitcoin without ever saying the word Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But he really gets it.
sense of what is valuable.
Exactly.
But he does talk about Bitcoin. But this is I can show you the perfect example of what we're facing with this. Okay. Search for Russell Brand in Google News. Tell me what you find. You know what I'm bringing up,
I
right?
exactly know, yeah.
This is the thing we face, and you face it here as well, but we face it at a different level, especially if you got the Telegraph. Here we go. The independent targets actor and comedian Russell Brand. How did Russell Brand go from stand-up stardom to peddling YouTube conspiracies? Russell Brand, the new Joe Rogan,
Ah,
and I'm the one he warned you about. Like they've just gone after him now.
Yeah.
They've gone after him.
he's too popular. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's one of the difficulties. Like my product is an American product.
Yeah.
My guests are mainly American. I come to America to make it. 55 to 60% of the listeners are American. But it's on our mind. Like we don't have, like I want a higher listener base in the UK. I want them to listen to this. And I'm trying to walk a very careful path of communicating this to British people without being labeled a conspiracy theorist or a nutter. And that's not for personal protection.
Yeah.
It is to make sure you can land this message.
To actually influence people.
Yeah, to influence people, and it's a really if my show. And by the way, when I say this, I'm always me. Any opinion I express, I genuinely believe it.
Sure.
And when I'm wrestling with it, I do. But if I was holding a position similar to Marty Bent, again, no criticism of Marty Bent. He was on the show recently. I consider him a friend. I love talking to him. But if my show was more like that, I'd have no chance of landing these messages. You wouldn't get anywhere. So
But here it's celebrated. He gets to go on Tucker Carlson, and he's helped me with U.S. politicians. Yeah,
Yeah, and if I
but it's
didn't-
not that level of discourse is not respectable in the UK.
we just don't have it. And,
Yeah.
and that's, like I say, I'm not discrediting Martin.
Of course.
Like,
It works here.
I love talking to him, and I love the challenge of the debate. I don't always agree with him, but I respect where he's coming from. I'm walking a careful balance of trying to get these messages across without being labeled crazy conspiracy theorist nutter. And it's really, really important because we need voices like Majid. We need, I don't want to say Lawrence Fox because I think he's an idiot. But we need these voices, and we don't have a lot of them.
Yeah.
And usually they get pushed into this bucket of nutters. And it's really hard. Like Russell Brand, like he's historically a moderate voice. He's historically like a progressive
I didn't even know.
Yeah.
I just knew him as an actor, I guess. Yeah.
comedian. But like now he's just trying to get into these areas and help
Yeah.
educate people. Bang. All of the media. And by the way, I think the Telegraph, aren't they considered conservative newspaper?
Yeah, they definitely are. But also, while this is all happening, their followers are growing. Like more people are listening, but they are getting attacked from the
I mean,
media.
I feel like we kind of export that to Europe right now. Like
Yeah.
that level of argument or that viewpoint that now Russell Brand is taking, natively to the UK. We've been exporting that for a while.
Well, he's been doing that for like a long time. We watched a video this morning. Like he's, I think his opinions changed a lot, but he's been going after like government and for a long time.
But he used to go at a different angle, didn't he? He would go at more from thinking about the underclass, the poor in society, who are not being served by the elites.
Sure.
But he would be somebody who, it was kind of more of an anti-capitalism thing now.
Yeah,
Then,
and I think he like possibly still has some of those. I mean, I can't speak for him, but I think he possibly still has some of those thoughts. But he's trending more away from centralization and to a sort of a breakup of all these things.
Well, actually, maybe it's that simple. If we're just brainstorming how to influence people in Europe at this point around CBDCs and the values of Bitcoin outside of just number go up, I talked about guns here, but what do people in the UK buy that is popular that the government might have reason to take away? Right? Is the UK government worried about cow farts and is going to make it difficult for you to buy meat? Is it gasoline and ESG narratives like
tea, Marmite?
As long as no one goes after Greg's in the north, we'll be all right.
Yeah, Greg's in the north. The sausage rolls.
Man, this is tough. It's hard for me to put myself in that mindset.
But narrative is important.
Sure.
Like you can fight narrative and lose.
Yeah.
Or you can accept narrative and try and navigate it. So, for example, I think it's a hard fight to just fight ESG and say it's not, it's bullshit, it's communism. Like we need to fight and get rid of it. Or you can navigate it and use it against itself.
Yeah.
And I think there's a far effective. I think if you want Bitcoin to succeed and you think ESG is damaging for it, I think it's far more effective to go, actually, by the way, Bitcoin is the most ESG thing there is. Like it literally solves environmental, social, and governance. It solves them all.
Oh man, are we going to start a fight here?
No, but
okay.
But what I'm saying is, my point being is like you don't always have to just like say no, fight. Sometimes you can say, well, hold on a second. If you care about ESG, well, let's objectively review Bitcoin under the lens of ESG, and we'll play your arguments back at you.
Yeah,
and I think you. I think
there are several people that are very good. Nick Carter's particularly good at this. Ross Stevens at NIDIG has a couple or at least one really good article on this.
Dan Moorhead at Pantera.
That's different than what I would say, right? That I feel like if you're trying to bridge that gap would be more persuasive. Yeah. Yeah,
but it's different people for different audiences, right? I would never expect a Marty Bent to do that because his audience is different, and I'm glad he doesn't because he fights for his audience in his way.
Yeah.
Right. But Ross Stevens has an entirely different audience.
Oh yeah.
And he fights in his way. Dan Moorhead has we have different audiences. But if we spent more time like actually observing why people are doing this rather than, because we even have it here in Bitcoin, we have people trying to cancel people for not holding the right opinions.
Of course.
Exactly. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Luckily, it doesn't matter in Bitcoin's world. Like, you can peddle influence in more centralized worlds and have more control over what the outcomes are. And in Bitcoin, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, right? Like you can shame people, you can try to whatever. It's like they will ultimately get the same benefit or punishment that they deserve by holding that opinion because if they don't want to hold their own keys and they're subject to an exchange hack, then you just learn the lesson that way. We all had to also. There's no way to really control it in the Bitcoin world. You don't get any benefit from it.
Yes.
I don't think, at least.
Yeah, but I mean, I come at it from a personal level, thinking about trying to navigate these things. And I think, let me put it a different way. We have a growing number of listeners who are not libertarians.
Sure.
They are left, moderate, right European, which is still left for you guys, but also people on the right who don't want to see the end of the state. We have this growing audience. Now, I think it's much better to accept there's this wide range of opinions that people have, and how do we bring them together around an idea, which is Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is the thing that can bring together left, right, and moderates around an idea that benefits everyone. And I think it's counterproductive to Bitcoin to banish people from it or scare them away by making them think their opinions don't matter or the views they hold are wrong.
I don't think it matters as much as that, though. I mean, like, because what's the outcome at the end? Like, it doesn't matter what your views are on any of these things. If you have the wrong view as it pertains to Bitcoin, you only lose. That's
but
the only option. You just lose.
There's views with Bitcoin, but there's views in wider society.
Sure.
And I think we can scare people away. Like we have Margot Paez on. She's a lefty. I completely disagree with her political opinions.
Okay.
But she might convince a whole bunch of people who are also lefties to consider Bitcoin and the benefits for it. And then you might get a lefty senator who, I'm saying lefty, it almost sounds pejorative, but I don't mean like that. Someone from the left who is also like a Ted Cruz from the left. And imagine getting the two of them together, have a conversation, and they can agree on this. Wow, this is a great idea. Let's work together on this. Yeah. Like that's what I think we can do is, and what I don't like is this. I know from the outside, from talking to people, that we sometimes can look like a bunch of crazy nutters, but actually they're some of the most intelligent people I've ever met who've got the best opinions on how society should be structured, how we could work together.
Yeah, I mean, this is always tough for me because, I don't want to be divisive. I don't want to, I do view Bitcoin as apolitical, right? Where, as a decentralized money and with decentralized governance, it doesn't have any room for political theory. I mean, there's nothing about politics in the white paper, right? And it doesn't have any room for that. However, I do think it's going to be tough. Like the more left socialist countries and mindsets, like I care about people, and I think that if we cannot bridge that gap with them, that they will just lose. Like that it will be a very, very hard transition for them. And I think that they are the most vulnerable to hearing the CBDC pitches and all this type of thing coming from, the EU and the US right now as they explore their options. And, I don't see any other outcome for those people other than becoming miserably poor.
So that for me, they're the ones I want to work on the most.
Yeah.
I do. I want to work on, like, my brother's a great example. He'll hear this. He works on the show now. One of the smartest people I've ever met. He supports me and supports the team in preparing for shows and supports some ideas. But my brother is historically very left, and he's European left, so he's ultra left. Not like woke bullshit, just like a Labour. He voted Labour. Okay. He doesn't mind me telling this. Since he's come into Bitcoin, he has shifted.
Sure.
But he came into Bitcoin, he came to support me with work and help me with it because he's a smart guy. He read the white paper and he had to question and challenge a lot of things. But have you seen the shift in him?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously didn't know him very well at all before, but yeah, I've definitely seen a shift.
There's been a big shift in him.
It's a big slap of reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think a slap of reality comes from a slap.
Yeah.
I don't, unless it's like a complete financial collapse and maybe you get wrecked and you go through
unless
it. But
gas prices go up to $10 in the United States, that's a slap of reality for you.
You, as a parent, you learn very quickly shouting is not effective.
Sure.
You lead by example. You spend time. You teach lessons. That's the effective way. Shouting and yelling at people that you're some libtard moron isn't going to convince them that Bitcoin is a thing. They're actually, in some ways, it might push them away because like, oh, that's fucking crazy rights. But actually, if you spend a bit of time saying, hey, listen, I want to hear your view of the world. I want to hear about your issues. And I want to show you how maybe Bitcoin can help you solve some of the problems that you see in the world. I think that's far more effective.
So, that sounds very Mormon. Door to door. I mean, that particular pitch. I want to show you how Bitcoin can help you. Yeah. No, but how do you make people value? How do you make people value like their own autonomy? Right.
Maybe look, carrot and stick. Some people's carrot, some people's stick. But,
sure.
But for every person who wants to. Who has the issues with the left and says fuck them, but I'm the guy who wants to go and talk to them. I want to bring them in. I want to help them to understand it because I think we get to where we want to be faster by working collaboratively.
Yeah.
Look how divided society is right now. You just have to go on Twitter to see it. You just have to watch the news to see it.
You're not on Twitter anymore, right?
I am not on Twitter. Well,
is this fake? Did you fake quit?
No, I semi-quit in that what I realized is, and I should have done this a long time ago, is the most effective thing I can do for Bitcoin is make the best show I can and get it out there to as many people as possible. If I go on Twitter, even if I'm nuanced, if I create enemies, that doesn't help. That doesn't help it.
I'm going to give you some shit on this.
Come on, let me get to that.
Okay.
I think Twitter as a broadcast, and when I say broadcast news or marketing, it works well.
Sure.
So if I've got an event that's news, I can release that on Twitter. People know about it, might come. If I've got a show I'm going to release, I'll retweet it, and that's cool. I only see me trying to engage in conversations as now a net negative for that, because you don't convince anyone on Twitter. And you may convince the odd person, but the reward mechanism is set up to gamify hate and anger, echo chambers, and bias. I think the perfect example of this has been watching Tim Pool. Okay. To just watch him descend into somebody completely captured by his audience and just generally become a complete, sorry, but we're not friends, so it doesn't matter. I think he's just a fucking moron now.
I don't know much about him. I mean, I've seen,
but I used to
some of his
love
podcast appearances.
I used to love hearing some of his like opinions on things. I didn't always agree with him, and sometimes when I've watched his show, there's things he said I think are smart. Now I think he's just completely captured, and I've seen that happen to so many people on Twitter. You are rewarded. You are rewarded for following a bias or a group thing. You are not rewarded for nuance.
Sure, but I'm giving you some shit on this.
Yeah, please do.
I mean, you pick fights. Yeah, I mean, you intentionally go out there and pick some fights, right? I mean, sometimes tongue in cheek and you get an outsized response that is not justified, but like you're poking the bear.
Depends. Like there's British humor when I say, make a joke about Texas and I say,
the barbecue sucks.
The barbecue sucks.
Yeah.
That's a joke.
Yeah.
I don't think I've gone out intentionally picking fights. I used to. Yeah. Like in the early days, when I was a very small audience. I actually don't.
That's a good way to get an audience.
Danny will always be
in
honest.
the conversation.
Danny is like my conscience, right? This is why he's now in the show. This is why he has a microphone.
Yep.
Danny is my conscience, and I will do most of the things Danny say or listen to everything he says. I'm really. Would you say I was trying to be careful about my tweets over the last year or two? Yes or no?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I agree that you sometimes respond to things. I think you respond to things with nuance, but you pick what you respond to sometimes. Now,
one of the reasons I also quit is it turns me into a prick.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be that prick.
Yeah, I guess what you just described in terms of how you want to use Twitter in the future as a broadcasting mechanism, as, marketing the podcast, all that. It's basically the way I've used it forever, right? But like, I don't have discussions on Twitter. It's a bad place to have discussions.
Well, discussions or even just countering an opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's not.
How do you think I poke the bear? Give me an example.
I can't think exactly. I mean, I was thinking about our dinner the other week and everything, and like I get out of dinner and I look at your Twitter feed and it's just like, well, the barbecue sucks and like, the blah blah blah, and like you're trying to get a rise out of people, right?
No, look, but there's a difference between like fun and banter. Like people have to understand a joke. You need a sense of humor. Like when I said real men don't need guns.
Yeah,
like it's a joke. Yeah. Come on, these things are a joke. I don't care about that. I don't mind getting shit for that.
Okay.
What I mind getting shit for is like when I did a very nuanced reply to Safedeen's view on climate change, researched and nuanced. It's like, fuck you, fuck this. And I was just like,
see, but I liked it. It's not from him, but from other people saying fuck you. Because I actually liked his Twitter thread after that of 97% of priests agreed that you should sacrifice your child. Like, what do you know? Are you a priest? Do you know whether you should sacrifice your child or not? Like, I liked that. And that seemed like a good retort to what you were doing.
Nah, I didn't buy it. I didn't. But like in the end, also, like, first and foremost, it makes me act like a prick. Yeah. And I don't want to be that guy. Like, I want to be this guy.
I think of it as like a hype machine. I like the echo chamber nature of Twitter, actually. I love it.
I hate it.
I think it's great. Like a hype machine for what you're working on or what you're the message you're trying to get out there. Like having a nuanced conversation on Twitter. I've just never even attempted to do that. Like it seems like a total losing battle. But like I think it's a great way to get the message out, and I like the way we feed off of each other there. I think it can be very positive.
Let's not say a nuanced conversation. There's quite a big list of shared opinions within the cohort I exist in.
Sure.
And there are other people who disagree with those opinions and they don't have a voice. And I like to disagree if I do disagree and be public about it and say I disagree. So those people know there's somebody batting for them. My emails, check my emails. You go in there. I'll show you after this. I'll show you some of the emails I get. Full of people who are saying, thank you for this. I agree with you. They don't go and do it on Twitter because they get memed, shouted at, abused, yada, yada.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not famous on Twitter. So therefore I don't really see much of this stuff.
But first and foremost, what is best for Bitcoin? It is not alienating people. So therefore, why waste my time on that? I don't know. I think for that purpose, it failed. I may come back.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm kind of enjoying not being on it.
Yeah.
And
I take Twitter breaks pretty frequently. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this first one, and also just the abuse is relentless. And like everyone is saying, developer thick skin. It's not real life. When you get told tens of thousands of times a year, you're fat, you're shit, you're useless. Glad your mum's dead, and
that's fucked up.
And then it's like I don't fucking need this.
Yeah.
So
no, I mean, and again, I've just never. Yeah. I don't get that type of hate.
But I fully admit I'm a hypocrite. My criticisms of Twitter, I am a hypocrite.
I like you on Twitter,
but I'm not going out there saying that this is a problem. I'm a fucking hypocrite.
Yeah.
And I'd like to come back, but I just, we're busy. We're busy doing this. And
sure.
I just don't need it right now.
There's one thing I really agree with you with, which is I don't believe in intersectionality, right? Where holding one belief must mean you have these other 7 beliefs, right? And you can get down the line. You can say, oh, you have this belief? Great, we're friends. You have this belief? Great, we're friends. You have this belief? And you go down six levels and we're all good. But you get this one wrong and you're a fucking piece of shit cuck, or whatever it is you get. And it's why I don't like a lot of it's why I like the echo chamber around Bitcoin when all we're talking about is Bitcoin. I know it can get boring. I've been doing it for 10 years now. Fuck it, 10 years where 90% of my public discourse has been related to Bitcoin. I don't really like mixing it up with other things. I talk about, financial censorship because I think it's very, very related to Bitcoin specifically. I don't actually like having the discussions about ESG and all this outside of what it means for Bitcoin's mining, right? So I kind of reject that nature of it, like the intersectional beliefs, we joke about, carnivorism and stuff like that. And some people really are, and that's fine, but it's not like a tenet of Bitcoin. It doesn't actually matter to be in the club of Bitcoin or to value Bitcoin or anything like that.
Do you know who it matters to?
Who?
It matters to the newer, lower level people who are trying to establish status.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Or
fitting into a particular,
Yeah, I don't fit in most of the people on every issue here in Texas. I'm clearly very different. You, me, Parker,
sure.
We can all go out for dinner.
But we're all friends, right? Yeah.
But what I'm saying is there are people who are trying to establish status, and to establish status, there's a fixed set of beliefs, and anyone steps outside of that, they get harassed, and therefore there's just this group thing that happens, and it's a growing organism of people.
Yeah.
There's thousands of them because I've blocked them all, the fucking idiots. But that happens, and it's that I support the latest thing, I'm against the latest thing. Which, by the way, when that I support the latest thing came out, it was like, oh shit, I'm going to get put into that basket. And then it was like, I oppose the latest thing came out. That was actually brilliant because it actually said to 2 sets of people, there is an issue here. Mm-hmm. Whereas groupthink is bad. Let's find some nuance.
Sure.
I don't know if it happened.
I've just become a single issue person. If it's good for Bitcoin, I like it, no matter what. And I think about, it's so complex right now. What's going on in Russia, Ukraine, what just happened in Canada, but we just got the best advertisement for Bitcoin, I think, since Cyprus in 2013, when Cyprus started seizing any funds over $10,000 in people's bank. That was a big moment for me in the Bitcoin story. It was like, oh my gosh, we actually need this for real. And we're getting that advertisement right now.
I know,
I don't
dude.
care about any of this other stuff.
Every major story has a Bitcoin angle.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess now I'm kind of going against my intersectional, like everything seems to be related to Bitcoin at this point.
Yeah, but that's good. No,
I'm contradicting myself.
No,
yeah.
I don't think you are. I don't think you are.
Yeah.
I think what you're recognizing is that the fracture in a society, the collapsing of fiat systems, is an advert for Bitcoin.
It is.
But that's fine and that's good.
Yeah.
And I'm completely with you on that. And in some ways, it's kind of like big regrets is trying to intersect into these wider issues that have got nothing to do with Bitcoin.
Yeah. Single issue. I mean, we talk about this a lot, like with CJ Wilson and guys that are doing the shoot. I don't know the name of the pack. They're doing a political pack
With Amanda.
Yeah. All they care about is Bitcoin. Doesn't matter if you're a Republican, Democrat, anything else. You say good things about Bitcoin, you get money from us. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it. Right? Like, we only care about one thing. What's your view on abortion? Don't care. What's your view on, Second Amendment? Don't care. Bitcoin. That's it. I think that's a good place to be right now.
So what's the end game with this then?
What's the end game?
Yeah.
Stuff Congress with pro-Bitcoin members from all over the United States, California, Texas.
No, that's not the end game. That's a strategy.
Oh yeah, sorry.
What's the end game?
What's the end game is honestly to do less harm, right? Is Bitcoin doesn't actually need politicians to make it succeed. It will succeed on its own merits. What would be helpful is to not have people actively attacking it and elongating the inevitable, the inevitable collapse of their own currencies, but also rise of Bitcoin as a global reserve currency. Like if it is unimpeded by the types of politicians that are there right now, and we're single issue voters, then it just might happen in my lifetime then, instead of not in my lifetime. I'd rather it happen in my lifetime.
Well, I think that's a great place to finish.
Oh.
Unless there's anything else you wanted to talk about.
I don't know. I can't even remember what we said here. This just flew by.
Yeah, I usually look at Danny to get a little nod on the time.
Time to go? Yeah.
No, to get a nod on the time, and usually I get a thing about an hour. Get like a 1.
Okay.
What was it? 1:30.
1:30.
We just breeze 1:30, and 1:30 is like our goal time. So we just hit it. We can go longer. But
What have I said?
Do you think you need to end with a game of rock, paper, scissors?
Oh, we could tell that real fast.
Yeah, go on.
And
Tell
I'll
the
play
story.
you.
No, I'm not. I've retired. You can tell the story. I retired.
No, I mean, Peter, will not allow me to, double or nothing my bet here. But my greatest athletic achievement in my life is this was a sanctioned tournament, 2008 Wyoming. I became the rock, paper, scissors state champion.
This is my favorite Bitcoin story. There is.
Yeah, I was trying to impress my now wife's friends, early days dating. They got me hammered at a bar. And there happened to be the tournament, going the tournament and make it sound so serious. There was a tournament in a bar where if you won, you would go to Las Vegas and play for the national. And I won it. And then I signed up to go to Vegas, and they're like, okay, we'll just buy your flight and book this hotel. I had no money. Then I found out they televised it on ESPN. I could have been rock, paper, scissors famous. Now, everyone I tell that story to now wants to challenge me. And so you did. I think the first night we met.
Yeah.
And you beat me.
I did. And then
right away.
Then I retired.
We tried and you beat me.
Yeah.
No, I retired. I've only had one serious professional game of rock, paper, scissors against state champion, and I won, and I effectively retired, and never will I play again.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
Actually, I'll say one serious thing to end.
Go on.
One serious thing is we're talking about CBDCs. We're talking about Bitcoin. And I know on this podcast in particular, you've gone through a transformation yourself of someone who used to say,
still
holding your own keys is too hard. And then you did it with Casa. Like, it's...
Hold on. I'm going to tell you. Can I tell you a story first?
Yes.
Okay. I used to say things that weren't true to help drive a conversation forward.
Sure.
Okay. Some things were true, or some things I refused to do because I
know what an X-pub is this whole time.
No, I know what it is, but I don't really know what it is.
I know.
And I don't really want to.
You don't really need to.
I don't really need to. Yeah. And that's where we need to be. But when I said I'd never run a node, I haven't.
Yeah.
And I still don't really use a node. I'm going to get more shit for this, but I don't. I have it there. I have it set up. I don't really engage with it because I don't see the future world of Bitcoin as one where lots of this stuff's automated for you.
Sure.
Now, that doesn't mean I don't think nodes are important, and I think everyone should look at it if they want to.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why something like 0.001% of people run a node.
Yeah.
So sometimes I say things to provoke the conversation because I think the conversation is important, and sometimes I ask questions where I know the answer, like.
Yeah, I know you're a smart guy, and I know you
making
know
a
these
product
things.
here
Yes.
for the listeners. So, but that going on a journey, it's a constant. I'm still on it.
Sure.
I regret things I did a week ago or said a week ago and 2 weeks ago. You just always try and improve.
Yeah. And I wasn't trying to be antagonistic.
No,
with that
I just
comment.
I just wanted to like let people know because sometimes they're like, oh, he's a fucking moron. He doesn't know what an expert is. Like,
Yeah.
yes, I do, but like sometimes it's helpful for the newer listeners to come in, or sometimes it's helpful to remind people we're in this rabbit hole. There's still people who are just at the entrance to it, and we can't act like they should know everything from day one.
Sure. And I agree with that. And what I wanted to say is that it is a process, right? It's a process, right?
Yeah.
But I would say right at the beginning of that process, if we're talking about CBDCs, we're talking about Canada and financial censorship, is that there is one thing that rises above all the others, more than running a node, more than any of the other things, which is hold your own keys.
That's a great ending.
That's it.
All right, man. Well, listen, do you want to tell people where to go and follow you?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So you can go to unchained.com. So I didn't even say I work at Unchained Capital. We help people hold their own keys. And we have integrated financial services along with that. So unchained.com. And you can follow me on Twitter at Will Cole.
Well, listen, thanks for coming on. It's been great to get to know you. I really appreciate your friendship as well as, somebody's now become part of the show. I've enjoyed the debate, but and thank you for always making me feel welcome in the free state of Texas.
Anytime, man.
All right, brother.
Thanks.